This comes after authorities said at least one of the attackers may have come into Europe with a flood of refugees. Anjanette Levy joins us now with why some say it's a knee-jerk reaction that doesn't really address the real humanitarian crisis. Anjanette.
Cami, Governor Kasich is one of those governors that sent this letter to President Obama tonight. He says the U.S. should stop taking in Syrian refugees because the intelligence in Syria isn't good enough to ensure the U.S. has reliable background checks on those trying to come into our country, but some disagree tonight.
Syrians running away from a civil war in their country have flooded into Europe. A family of 8 recently arrived in Cincinnati, with governors calling for a halt to the resettlements. Syrian Americans who work to help the refugees are troubled.
It's very short-sighted because it really it ignores the real issue.
Ashraf Trabolsi of the Syrian American Foundation says the real issue is a civil war that is tearing Syria apart, forcing people to run away from their homes. ISIS is part of it. Trabolsi says more needs to be done to relieve that situation so the refugees don't have to leave in the first place. He says the refugees come here through the United Nations Refugee Program.
From the time they sign up for the program to the time they come to the United States, it's usually 12 to 18 months. And basically, that's for all the security and screening process that they undergo. So we don't bring just anybody.
Karen Dabdoob of the Council on American Islamic Relations is also concerned by the governor's reaction.
Syrians are being killed on a daily basis by ISIS, and that's what they're running away from. I don't think that it helps us defeat ISIS, and it certainly doesn't help to limit the number of victims that ISIS is going after.
Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley is joining the governors in asking the U.S. government to stop resettling Syrian refugees until there's a guarantee they are vetted properly. But council members Chris Seelbach and Yvette Simpson, they disagree. They believe Cincinnati should welcome the refugees. Cami?
Anjanette Levy, thank you. Kentucky's stance on Syrian refugees is a bit unsettled. On one hand, current Governor Steve Beshear says the Commonwealth should welcome all refugees who have passed extensive background checks. On the other, Governor-elect Matt Bevin is saying no to refugees. But the governor really has nothing to do with that decision. Kentucky privatized its refugee resettlement program back in the 90s. So the decision is actually made by the U.S. State Department and Catholic Charities. Stay with local